Hey, everybody, and welcome to the wrap up. If you haven't been here before, this is the official Raptors Republic live post game show where we recap, we dissect, and we have a lot of fun talking about the latest Raptors game. I'm your co host, Sahal Abdi, again here with not Manny Rao, but instead, today we have Complex Canada's very own Oren Weisfeld and Aiden Moss from Raptors Republic, who's going to be joining myself and Oren for the full season. You guys saw him in preseason. He was killing it with Zarar, killing it with Oren. I wasn't there, so this is my first time with Aiden. Aiden did also join us. Aiden, you joined us on the draft special as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I've been around.
Aiden's been here. He's been
Not
here,
his
done
first rodeo.
No,
that.
I'm basically
Definitely not.
Manny Rao without the ponytail.
Yeah, we're going to the finals, baby. Let's go.
Aiden,
Can't
you know
believe
what, guys?
this.
Aiden might be the first ever guy that has a larger forehead than me.
It's just because it's endless. Let's get
How
to
does
the
that-
game for Christ's
How does
sake.
that look?
Come on.
Okay, let's get to this game. Sorry. Tonight, the Toronto Raptors played their away opener versus the Boston Celtics. They defeated the Boston Celtics 115-83, bringing the Raptors record to 1-1 on the season. So, guys, man, I feel like my heart is like fluttering right now. I know we all want to talk about Scottie Barnes. It was a massive, massive win for Toronto. It was the Boston Celtics home opener. So, and they were coming off a grueling overtime loss to the New York Knicks. Guys, let's get into it. I want to get into Scottie Barnes, and I want to get into Scottie Barnes right now.
I want to talk about the massiveness of the win real quick because it seems silly to say because it's game 2. And like, I'm also being controversial because after game 1, everyone overreacted and I was like, chill. But Boston lost in double overtime to New York and the Raptors lost in really embarrassing fashion. So this was actually a big game as far as game 2s go in the NBA. And it was a statement win as much as you can get a statement win this early in the season. The Raptors, they played just unbelievably well, and we're going to the finals, and that's all there is to say about it. But yeah, Scottie Barnes.
Aiden.
I'd also say just quickly, like I think we're going to get a lot of these lopsided scores in both directions. It kind of happens when you don't have that go-to scorer, and if things are gelling, they're fucking gelling, and when they're not, it looks real ugly real fast. So I think it's going to be a lot of peaks and valleys this year.
Yeah, no, for sure. Oren, I wanted to quickly ask you. So the final stat line from Scottie Barnes was 25 points, 13 rebounds in 35 minutes. He shot 11 for 17. We saw everything from Scottie Barnes in this game. And the best part was, from my perspective, because I was watching, the Celtics commentator stream. So for me, they were gushing the whole game about Scottie Barnes, about how this is a possible Rookie of the Year. We saw absolutely everything. And this clip you see here, drives to the basket. This clip here, pull up 3. I mean, we saw the pull up mid range. He grabs the rebound there, and everyone just runs. I love the respect they have for him in transition, the no look left handed pass. Oren, what was your favorite Scottie Barnes moment in this game?
Yeah, we actually just played it first, and I'm sure we'll play it again. It was the first clip you played here when he ran in transition, and I'll explain why while we play it. But Scottie also game high plus 29 on the night. He was literally their best player. He was the best player on the floor tonight. And like for a guy who came out of the draft, heralded as a really raw prospect, someone who's going to take a lot of time to contribute to the NBA, someone who Sam Vecini, who I respect at The Athletic, called a 0-level scorer. He was a 2-level scorer in this one. The 3 ball's obviously not really there yet. I think he did hit his first NBA 3 in this game, but the mid-range came out of nowhere. No one could have predicted the touch he has in the mid-range, which is a shot that nobody can stop because he's so tall. And yeah, it was obviously the reason the Raptors drafted him tonight. It was versatility that stuck out. He filled up the stat sheet that I have him in fantasy, by the way, but he filled it up because he's so well-rounded and honestly incredibly impressive win. The Raptors could have a star on their hands, and that's more than you can say about them for a long time, probably.
Aiden, you watched Scottie Barnes have an incredible game. I agree with Oren. He was probably the best Raptor tonight. What was the moment that stuck out to you the most with Scottie Barnes?
The thing with Scottie, and like I've highlighted this before, and it didn't surprise me, but it's so awesome to watch, is the offensive rebounding. Like a lot of wing players don't box out typically as hard as like the low post guys. And even when they do, like a guy like Tatum is completely overpowered by Barnes. And so the fact that you have like your best player, quote unquote, right, playing in the game, but doing the nitty gritty, doing the hard work, at the same time, being the primary scorer is just like incredible to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we I just want to show this clip again of how do I get it big?
See, this is the best part about us, early
Oh,
in the
there it is.
season.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah, there we go.
Wait, just give me 1 second. How do I want to rewind it now. All
He
right,
is
so
just
sorry
so
guys.
good.
Just ignore me.
That's my favorite play, mostly because I started screaming when Scottie and Fred started screaming into each other's mouths. Like
Yeah.
it was just like the intensity is just surging, and that's another thing is he's like a one-man catalyst of energy. Like it's like anywhere he's on the floor, he's just lighting everybody else up, and it's so contagious.
Yeah, the thing that sticks out, this is the play right here. The thing that
Oh
sticks
my
out to me
goodness.
is Scottie's feel. And it's
Yeah.
because he really doesn't make the wrong read ever in this game. And that play that you just saw was the Raptors were on a run. Boston here clearly they're jogging back, and he took it right to them. No, different play, but he took it to them on the fast break when the Raptors were kind of on this run here, and that kind of felt like one of the daggers. There were a few, and we'll have a turning point we'll show you later, kind of, but it was just a moment in the game where the Celtics were frustrated. They missed a bucket. They were down like 15 at that point. And he just like, instead of kind of going slowly, doing what they wanted to do, which was jog back, he just took it to them and he got an easy left-handed layup. And like, it's hard to stop him in transition in the first place. But at that point in the game, it was just such a good read to just go rather than kind of wait. And
Yeah.
it was a dagger. It took the game. Nurse has talked about like, spiritually like hurting other teams' spirits,
I
taking
love
away
that.
their spirits. And like, that was one of those plays that took away the spirit of the Celtics.
The other interesting thing is and will continue to be the diversity. I mean, Horford could not contend with him, right? Like he was way too quick. Horford could even really get up on the shot. And then when they switched, and there's a play that we'll probably not show, but he posts up Schroeder on the switch, and Van Vliet missed him. He didn't give it to him. But that's a whole other part of his game that if teams start switching smaller guys onto him who are quicker laterally, he's going to have a field day down low as well.
Yeah, Oren, I'm gonna do this, and it's gonna hurt my ego a little bit. But prior to the game, I did tell Oren that I was expecting a Raptors loss. Oren was trying to cheer myself up. I don't know, Aiden, if you were going with a Raptors win or loss. I mean, at this point, it's like.
No, I was anticipating a closer bout, but I thought Celtics would win too.
Yeah, I mean, it was the home opener. I felt like the Celtics showed a lot of good things versus the Knicks. Jaylen Brown had 46. A lot of good things were happening for the Celtics coming into this game, even though they were coming off of a loss. And the Raptors didn't look good versus the Washington Wizards. So,
No.
But Oren talked about spiritually beating down teams, and we saw that happen to the Raptors on their home opener on Wednesday night versus the Wizards. But I mean, it was the opposite. This game, you saw the Raptors. Every time the Celtics wanted to make a run, the Raptors beat them down. Timeout. The Raptors come back out, and it's like the fact that they were able to hold on to this lead for so long, such a young team. The fact that we got to see Delano Banton come back out. I was hoping to see him get some minutes. I was like, Nick, we're up, 20 plus at this point, 30 plus at one point. When are we going to see Banton? But all trust goes to Nick Nurse and his coaching staff at the end of the night. 115-83 was the final score. Oren and Aiden. In this game, Scottie Barnes obviously stood out. For me, the next guy that stood out was Precious Achiuwa. Who was your kind of like second star of the game?
My second star would be Fred VanVleet, because while he showed all of the limitations that Fred VanVleet typically shows, and if you have gripes with it, I totally understand. I do think he's being put in a role that's probably a little too big for him in terms of how much he's running point. And he shot 3 for 10. It's not great at all. But what Fred did was play ridiculous defense. He was credited for 3 steals, but he had a lot more deflections than that. Like, he was everywhere on the defensive end. For someone his size to make that much of an impact in a single game is wild to me. And also, 9 assists here. And that's the thing about Fred for me, is that his limitations as a scorer they're not changing. Maybe he'll add a little floater to his game, and that'll help his efficiency a little bit. But like in general, that's not changing. But what he can maybe do as a playmaker this year is kind of the Raptors' floor as far as their half court offense goes. Like, so much of it depends on what Fred can do as a facilitator. And this was easily his best game as a facilitator this season, one of his best of his career. Like, he's just getting way better in the pick and roll. He's getting more patient and finding bigs. And, it's not perfect. He misses guys on the roll quite a bit still, but it's really an improvement. And so even though there are deficiencies in Fred's game, and it's totally fair to have gripes with them, he does so much to help you win, and that's why he plays so much.
Aiden, take out Scottie Barnes. Who stuck out to you in this game?
I'm going to give it to my boy, Gary Trent Jr.
Nice.
In my last column, I highlighted things I didn't like about him, which is his penchant for the mid-range, his inefficiency with scoring, kind of his individualistic play. But this was the opposite in this game. His defense was incredible. I've never seen him play this kind of defense before. He had 4 steals. He was, up, and it was the same in Washington. He was just in guys' face, playing aggressively on the L cuts and intercepting passes. And then on offense, there was no hesitation. He was going right to the rim. And, typically he kind of putters around and then pulls up or fades away. And this time he was selective and aggressive, and we really need that. We need that rim presence as much as we can.
Yeah, watching Gary Trent on that last play attack the rim. I mean, anytime you see GTJ attack the rim, you're a little bit of, at least for me, I'm surprised. We don't get to see that often from Gary Trent Jr. And I don't know about you guys, it just looks like it's kind of awkward. Like, his dribbling to the rim, it's almost like he's unsure if he should attack the rim or not. But it looked good tonight. I mean, the finished product was there. He hit a big 3 at the end. The game was kind of, under wraps at that point, but he hit a big 3 at the end, stared down the Boston Celtics bench. I liked how Gary Trent Jr. played, but you guys left me the easy answer, and I already mentioned it. Precious Achiuwa, guys, 15 points, 15 rebounds, absolutely dominated the glass. Yeah.
Holy, wow.
15 points, 15 rebounds. He had a couple steals. He was a plus 16. He hit a 3, a 3, and the best part I think about him hitting that 3 was the Boston Celtics commentators going, "Wait, Precious can do that?" So, teams don't know, at least their fans, maybe their commentators don't know that Precious has been stretching it out. He did it in the preseason a little bit, and in this game he hit a 3. So, I mean, to have that for Precious and to have Kem Birch able to stretch it out, at least to the corner, gives the Raptors more options. The Raptors looked good. I mean, their defense led to offense a lot. You see in this possession, it's like a semi-transition, I guess you could say. Gary Trent Jr. finds Fred VanVleet, and then Precious is just absolutely jetting it to the rim, and he finishes, and then Precious just running in transition. And this was so impressive, the strength and the ability to finish at the rim with Robert Williams, who we were gushing about this guy last year. This is one of the better shot blockers in the game. And Precious, he did really well in the paint. I love that play, that after timeout play from Nick Nurse. There was a lot of good things that Nick Nurse did in this game in terms of just keeping the Boston Celtics off balance. But one thing I do hope, guys, is that, I'm a big fan of Ime Udoka, the Boston Celtics head coach, and I don't want the fans to turn on him. They are 0-2. They have the Houston Rockets up next. And that leads me to this segment, which is something that we did last year. But Oren, if you were the GM of the Celtics, is this a team that's going to get you as far as you would like? What would you change about this team? What do you like about this team? Obviously, they have one of the better anchors in the NBA in Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown's a very good Robin for your team. I guess for Oren and Aiden, what do you guys like about this team? Because I like hearing it from the other perspective. And, these people get enough Raptors talk as it is.
Are we done with that? I'm not done with the Raptors though.
Who cares
Oh, no,
about the Celtics?
I'm not either. I want to talk about
let's
this
get to
just
the
a tiny
Celtics.
bit.
Let's get to the Celtics at the end, man.
Okay.
Let's
I
do
wanna-
that segment.
I want to
fair.
go back to Precious for a sec. That
Yeah.
play where he shoulders Time Lord. He earlier in the game he does a Euro step kind of around, and he notices that Time Lord doesn't bite on that kind of like initial hezzy to the paint, and he reads that and then plays off of him. And similarly in that semi transition where he crosses over Horford, he's starting to make dynamic plays. Like, I think he struggled early in this game. He missed a lot of bunnies early on. And I think that's going to be a running theme where he's undersized and he's trying to do too much against bigger dudes. But seeing him make the right decision when he's attacking and doing it in a limber way for a big man is encouraging to see.
Yeah, I think you guys hit the nail on the head in terms of Trent and Precious. Like those were my other two, and like, yeah, Precious, you just got. I have a rooting interest for him. He has a great story, and if people want to learn more about Precious's story, I'm going to plug my piece, which is at complex.ca. You can learn about Precious's whole basketball career.
I love that story, Oren.
Thanks,
I love
man.
that.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
it's
But then
incredible.
I want to talk about Trent, who's your guy, Sal. You gotta take your flowers because a lot of people were down. A lot of people were down on Trent for the signing. Thought it was too much money, whatever. And the main reason was that Trent was in Portland, he was such a one-dimensional player, which was like a 3-point shooter, but off the bounce, he wasn't doing much. He wasn't doing much at the rim. And defensively, he was really kind of just there. And, the hope was always, okay, maybe he can turn into an impact defender, which Norm Powell never really was because he always just kind of made too many mistakes. And honestly, I tweeted this, but Trent is a completely different player in Toronto, like this season. It's unbelievable how the Raptors have changed the way he approaches the game, because it's no longer like he's gunning for his shots. He's within the rhythm of the offense way more, but more importantly, he's a menace on the defensive end. Like, he had so many deflections in this game, so many steals. He got 4, which is a game high, but
Wow.
yeah, even more deflections than that. And I'm really impressed with him. But yeah, let's get to the Raptors Republic turning point of the game.
Turning point. My goodness. Where was the turning point? It felt like this entire game was a blowout, Oren.
Yeah, I said it was this one, and obviously it's not like a literal turning point, because as you can see, the Raptors are up 18, 17. I'm not great at math, but if you're the Celtics and you want to make a comeback with 15 minutes left, Fred VanVleet going up against Jason Tatum for a jump ball, 6'10" Jason Tatum, you expect Jason Tatum to cleanly win it. They don't. Trent gets to the line. He makes both free throws, and the game's over at this point. So to me, that's just like a pretty representative play of the Raptors out hustling the Celtics all night. They win that jump ball, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I mean, for me, you guys know me. I'm a Gary Trent guy. I think I tweeted last year Gary Trent Jr. is a Toronto Raptor 187 times
Jesus,
in like the
man.
span of a month or something like that. So, yeah, I'm a big Gary Trent Jr. guy. I made sure, Oren, when we were doing those Raptors Republic season player reviews, I got the Gary Trent Jr. piece. It's still pinned, by the way, on my Twitter profile if anyone wants to see that. But yeah, I love what Gary Trent Jr. is doing. His aggressiveness at the rim is something that I've been begging for so long. And you're right, he did look like a one-trick pony in Portland. He was a really good one-trick pony. I mean, he was a very valuable player for the Portland Trailblazers. Came to Toronto, had some huge games, and then it was kind of like sputtering on and off from there. But I like what we've seen so far. Again, we're 2 games in. I'm going to say the same thing I told Manny on Wednesday night. I'm not, going to take this and say, Gary Trent Jr. is going to be this or that, or Scottie Barnes. Actually, no, I'm ready to say Scottie Barnes is going to be Rookie of the Year. That's as far as I'll go.
Put the money down. Put the money down.
11-1. I got that at 11-1.
Yo, we need to turn this into more of a betting podcast.
Just steal Manny's whole thing that he does.
I lose it all, but I have good takes.
Yeah, I lost money tonight.
Yeah. I love what I saw from the Raptors tonight. It was a win that I think the young guys are going to be very proud of. Will it get to their head? Who knows? One of the things the Raptors have done so well over the last one of the things, Oren, I think the Raptors have done so well over the last 3-4 years is that when they come off a big win, they're very humbled, and a lot of that had to do with them having a big veteran presence on the team, Marc Gasol, Kyle Lowry, so on and so forth. They would come back, and you would see the same Raptors team. So hopefully,
let's do the Aiden's play.
Hopefully, we do see that. Aiden,
my TSN turning point.
Aiden,
I think we're up 6 here. This is
it's too early. I'm joking.
I mean, it is a slow bleed. It's kind of hard to, like you said, to nail it one. But this is where the floodgates start to open. And you saw this in preseason, like our willingness to run in breaks and to force turnovers and to just discombobulate teams is so morale destroying. And that's how we're going to get up on teams, is just out hustling them and making it just feel like they can't keep up. And this also just highlights Gary's D, which he stops Jalen in his tracks and then strips him and off they go.
Yeah, I love this play. He was a menace on the perimeter defensively,
dude.
And Precious runs around like he's 6'3".
Yeah,
look at this. Thank you. I'll take that.
And that was the two guys that we talked about too. Two very young players that are getting a ton of run. Something I want to ask you guys about is like Precious versus Khem Birch. It was Precious's best game as a Raptor, but I still really lean towards Khem as a starter. And I think it's a conditioning thing why he hasn't been starting. He obviously had COVID, and this was his best game as well. Even though we haven't talked about him yet, I thought he was super solid. But like the thing about Precious is that he does so much that it just feels like it makes more sense with the reserves. And Khem is just such a solid player that he doesn't ask anything. Like he doesn't demand shots at all. He just sets screens and rolls to the rim and makes good reads and plays really solid defense. And I think like next game, if we can just get the Fred, Trent, OG, Barnes, Birch lineup, I'm gonna be really happy because that's their best starting lineup right now, I think.
Can you say it one more time? Because I want people to argue with you in the comments. Say what the optimal lineup is.
Fred, Trent, OG, Barnes, and Birch, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I mean, yeah, it's hard for the Precious crowd, especially after the game he just had, but yeah,
Precious is a 22-year-old center who got 12 minutes a game with the Heat, was out of their rotation by the end of last year. And I'm as big of a fan of Precious as anyone, but you can't go from that to being a starting center in the NBA just like that. Like he needs more reps. And I think going up against backup centers is going to just do wonders for him because you even saw it. Like again, he struggled a little bit against Robert Williams, but against backup centers in the league, he'll be fine.
I'm mostly fine with that lineup. Aiden, what do you think?
I'm really on the fence. Like I don't think you can really go wrong. Their defense, like that. Part of what was fascinating about this game is how their help side swarmed guys in the post. Like you'd look up and there'd be like 4 guys on someone who's penetrating, and just all these arms and like it and the intensity. And I think Precious adds a lot to that. Same with the rebounding on the offensive rebounding. Like he's one of the guys mixing it up, and Birch does that in a less athletic way, I guess. But our bench suffers. I mean, the whole OG carrying this bench didn't work, and having Precious come with Goran off the bench, I think, is a nice little, brings more balance offensively at least.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I just love the fact that the centers, you can go with Achua or Khem Birch. They're so damn mobile. I mean, seeing Achua dribble all the way up the court after that Gary Trent play, Aiden, you mentioned, it's honestly unbelievable. The fact that the Raptors, biggest guys on the team essentially dribble like guards in the open floor.
Yeah.
I'm fine with the lineup for now, Oren. We'll come back to it. It's very chalk of you. Fred, Gary Trent Jr.,
It's traditional.
Scottie Barnes, OG, and Birch. It's traditional. I'm
It
fine
is.
with it. One thing I did want to mention as well, since we talked about Scottie Barnes, we talked about Precious, and this question's for either of you really. Do you guys think we should be concerned with what we've seen offensively from OG or Fred?
I was just actually going to ask the same question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not concerned yet about OG.
I mean, this is growing pains is what we're seeing. But what's kind of concerning is he's not choosing his spots. Like now, it's kind of like the cyclical tailspin, right? Like he's starting to rush his shots. He's not really choosing the right moments because he wants to get back in line, and he wants to get those couple of buckets to get his confidence up, and it's having the opposite effect. He's just deteriorating. And it also seems like he's off balance a lot. Like he's kind of stumbling around. He's not as clean as he was in the preseason.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, first game of the preseason, you saw the same thing. He was picking his spots terribly and just forcing the issue. And it feels like that again these last couple of games. Like, I don't know. It feels like a little bit like he's lost some of the confidence.
Yeah.
But I'm not worried. Like, I'm more worried about Fred offensively in terms of like being an efficient player. But OG, I don't think he's comfortable right now, but I think he's going to find that comfort. He started last season pretty badly too. But like what I really liked from OG today was really bad start to the game. I tweeted it like someone has to get to the line on this team because like you can't run all game and have no one get to the line to stop it and give you breathers. And have no one, like, when the offense is stalled out, just get to the line and, like, get you some easy points. And finally, OG started doing that in the second and third quarter, and that I thought was really big for this team. Like, he just stopped taking jump shots and started, like, getting really aggressive. And that was big. Like, it wasn't an efficient night for him, but I just think he's going to put it together as the season goes on.
Yeah, I think his struggles, Aiden, I don't want to cut you off, but I just want to quickly say, I think a little bit of his struggles had to do with maybe the wing defenders and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown being placed on him. I mean, normally those guys, you throw them on a Pascal Siakam, and Pascal Siakam has traditionally done pretty well against the Boston Celtics. But I feel like a lot of game plans are now revolving around OG and Fred, and we're starting to see guys crowd. Like if you look there, 4 Boston Celtics are around OG as he's, of course it was a mismatch on the post up, but I mean, you're seeing guys crowd OG more than ever before. But he's doing the other things. I mean, people in the comments mentioned it as well. It's not like OG's, missing shots and then not giving it back defensively or not giving it back on the glass. Like he's really trying. The effort is there. So, Aiden, what do you think?
Yeah, I was just going to say something similar. Like, if Siakam had the same kind of experience too, right? Like teams are now scheming with OG in mind. Maybe they should start scheming with Barnes in mind. But OG is facing the best defender on the floor. Everybody's waiting for him to attack, and they're scouting him, and they know where, the fact that he's not a great playmaker yet, and they're crowding his shot. And so, this is just what happens when you become a better player or you grow as a player, and teams adapt.
A couple quick things. In terms of getting OG easier shots, I want to see them run more pick and roll with Fred and him. That I think is like their best pick and roll pairing to start the season with Siakam out. They had a couple really nice ones in preseason, and I think if you want to get OG going specifically, set some screens for him with Fred so that he can go downhill and he's going to get to the line that way. And then before we get to the defensive end, Chris Boucher, quick shout out to him because he's another guy who's really developed just in terms of like the defensive end over the past year. And I thought he was so solid tonight, just not making mistakes, good closeouts, good contests at the rim. Nothing sexy, but really solid game from him tonight. And shout out to him.
Except for the 1 for 6 from 3.
I was about to say he was chucking that thing tonight. 11 points, 7 rebounds. He did have a block and a couple steals. But yeah, I like Chris Boucher. I mean, he's good for like 2 or 3 boneheaded plays that like make you think like, how is this guy in the NBA every game? But I mean, he does a lot of things that a lot of players just can't do defensively. Every time it seems like Chris Boucher's out of a play defensively, he somehow makes up the space with his gazelle-like legs and that massive wingspan. So
Can
I'm a
Boucher
fan of
and
him.
Precious play together?
Well, I think so. I think it's similar to
Yeah.
him playing with Birch. I think Precious and Birch are similar enough players that, like, that's another reason I want Birch to start. Is I saw on Twitter today people complaining about Precious being a 5 early in the game, and it's like Precious is a 5 in the NBA because that's his role offensively. He just can't shoot, and he has to play that role offensively. But so I think the fact that people are like saying that means that he's just in over his head as a starter a little bit. But I think he could play beside Boucher for sure. Like as a floor spacer, Boucher can kind of play in a lot of lineups.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think Chris Boucher is a guy that I looked at in this game and I was like, oh, that's the Chris Boucher play of the game. And then a couple plays later, he makes a big play there. He hits a corner 3. Chris shot a very good percentage. If you guys remember, at the first half of last season, he was almost 50%. I talked about that with Manny as well. We didn't see that great of a game, but a lot of people in the comments, I mean, I'm seeing a debate. I'm like filtering through this really quickly, and you have the crowd that's like, well, let's talk about OG, how he shut down Jaylen Brown, and Jaylen Brown didn't have that great of a game. 9 points. He's coming off a 46-point, masterpiece versus the Knicks, and RIP D-Rose says Jaylen Brown looked like he took an edible. So he did have 9 points. Yeah, he was exhausted. I know he did have COVID, and someone did mention that in the comments as well. And before we get to the next topic, I quickly want to thank Top Shot Tesla, I believe is the name, for your donation. He says, sorry, I'm late. Was busy trolling the Celtics.
No apologies, man. You don't have to apologize for that.
Don't apologize for that. I don't ever apologize for that.
Yeah.
And I also want to thank Canis Major as well, who says, who's going to the bench when Pascal's back?
That's a great. Let's shelf that. Let's shelf that.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that soon.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a good question.
Oren.
Yeah, let's get to the defensive end of the floor, because I think we've talked about most of the guys offensively who played great, and I got a play to show. Defensively, the Raptors finally realized the vision that we've all kind of had for this team. And yeah, this one was just actually Fred. Like the amount of for Fred to be like just play this 2-on-1 so brilliantly. Watch how early he reads that this is a pass. Like he kind of gambles on it. Schroeder could have taken it to the rim very easily, but Fred just reads that it's a pass insanely early, gets up there, and it's a turnover. And that's why, he was kind of my second star of the game. He just affected the game in so many ways. And, that was just one play in the transition defense. But in the half court, the Celtics, like other than Jason Tatum hitting really, really difficult like fadeaways, the Celtics were absolutely fucked all game. Like they're having nightmares about this tonight, because the Raptors, this was what we all like envisioned in terms of like maybe the Raptors defense can really be like special, can be like a top 5 defense. Like to me, that's their simplest path to like a play-in playoff spot. And tonight, despite the youth, despite missing Pascal and Utah, it really came together against a good team. So
I forgot about Utah.
I'm impressed. Yeah, I'm impressed. Yeah, like Utah taking Svi's minutes, I think will be big for this team.
Yeah, but like Svi did play better. I mean, Zarar got on me on Wednesday night for, me and Manny just going off on him for like 3 or 4 minutes. Felt like it was a little, it wasn't worth it. I mean, for me, Svi, he played a little bit better. He hit a 3 at the end of the game, but I mean, at that point, the Raptors were up like 1,000. So, but he just looks more comfortable. I think he's just still getting comfortable with the system, still getting comfortable with Nick Nurse and what he likes to do defensively, offensively. He did hit that shot there, but I mean, look at the scores, 105-77. That was like, I was like, oh my goodness. I thought that was his shot more than anything, and that just went way off. But this is something he needs to get better at, and that is what he was doing on the during the Wizards game as well, where he just drives, and it feels like he's driving with no plan at all. This shot was just way off, but it's the next play I'm talking about where he drives with no plan, and it's almost like he decides in that moment, like, okay, I'm going to pass here. All right, you can take it. And it ended up in some turnovers on Wednesday night versus the Wizards.
Yeah, he's
but
not.
I'm not gonna get on him too much.
No, like he had a fine game.
Yeah, he was fine.
And I think like I like him as like a 10th guy kind of,
Mhm.
but Utah really impressed. So and Utah just fits the style better as well.
Yeah,
and he gives us that perimeter shooting too. Although Svi does as well.
I think what's going to be most fun about this team, guys, is the fact that, in this game, I mean, the last game, Nick Nurse went 10 deep, right? He went deep into the bench. And then in this game, obviously minus the 3 minutes that Justin, Delano, and Malachi got at the end of the game, and Isaac Bonga as well, he went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 deep. And most of those minutes, the huge bulk of those minutes went to the starters. Like I said, Scottie Barnes played 35. Fred VanVleet, 37 minutes. OG was at 34 minutes, even though he shot 4 for 18. Again, that points, if anything, to OG really doing well on the other side of the floor. And then Gary Trent as well, 32 minutes, with Precious with 25. So I like the minute, the minute count for each guy on this team. I don't think Nick Nurse overdid it or underdid it for anyone. I'm sure some people, they love in blowouts. Aiden and Oren, they want to see. I know a lot of people were clamoring for Delano to come out earlier in the game, but I guess that was just the home opener more than anything.
I kind of think there was a moment for him in that the early in the fourth quarter when I think Oren jinxed our lead and it crumbled to 15 and it looked like everything was going to fall apart.
It crumbled.
It's it's like we kind of lost our energy and our spark, and it looked like this was just really going to fall apart. And I think Banton would have fit there quite well, right? Like I think there is space for him for 3 to 5 minutes just to give that burst of energy and get us kind of back on track. It's worth a try. We figured it out and we rebounded well, but I think I was kind of surprised he didn't show up in that spot.
Yeah. It's interesting to me that they really are only playing 2 point guards with Dragic and Fred. And one of them is on the court at all times, but I think like Nurse is really concerned about playing small lineups, and Banton's not small, so maybe that's not a good like example, but it's just interesting to me how big the rotation is skewed right now.
Yeah,
and
like
we thought Flynn or Banton for sure, one of the two would be in the rotation, and neither of them are. And I think actually a lot of that has to do with Barnes. Going back to him, is that he's handling the ball so well and making plays so well that there's really no need for like that other ball handler. And it'll be really interesting when the 905 season starts in a couple weeks, because at least one of those guys is going there, and we'll see, maybe both go.
I think that's a good point of the ball handling, and that seems like an adjustment Nurse made for this game. It was just putting the ball in Barnes's hands earlier and letting him kind of run things, and you can see how much he can exploit that. And so that's a good point to probably why they limited Banton's time.
Yeah, no, for sure. Top Shot Tesla says only 25 likes. Guys, how do we have 25 likes? Help these cats defeat the algorithm. No, I'm calling everybody out.
Yeah, man.
It says we have 200 plus live watchers. I want the likes to fill up right now.
Fill it up.
I'll give you guys a few seconds. Not gonna get mad, not gonna get angry.
If you guys fill it up, I'll freestyle.
You guys don't want Zerard to come on.
Don't let your self-esteem be fined by somebody else's likes, bro.
I told you.
I have no more pride. My pride is done.
No, guys, never mind. Don't like this video because Oren said he's gonna freestyle. No one's trying to listen to that. So don't do that. Guys, the Celtics, I told you guys I was watching the game, listening to because I listened to enough Jack Armstrong and Matt Devlin and Leo Routins from last year.
It was Alvin.
And Alvin, I know Alvin Williams was there.
He was good today. He was much better. Improved.
And that's what I was reading. But I think the story from the Boston Celtics side view of it was that the offensive rebounds won the game for Toronto. Do you guys agree with that sentiment?
Say that again, Sahal. I was too busy reading all these comments.
No, I don't blame you. I was going through them as well. Do you believe that the offensive rebounds were the key to winning the game for Toronto? Because we talked about Scottie Barnes, we talked about Gary Trent Jr., Precious, we talked about all the players. In terms of what actually won this game from a team perspective, do you think it was the Raptors absolutely destroying the Celtics on the offensive glass?
One.
Oh, go ahead, Aiden.
I think absolutely, especially in the first half. Like that. I mean, like I said, our team is about sucking the energy and the life out of the other team. And offensive rebounding is one way you can do that, right? Like it's so exhausting to continually be worrying about your guy and having to box out, especially when they're 220 plus 6'9". Like that's a lot of work. And so even when we don't get the rebounds, there's still a benefit that's coming from that. And especially in the first half, the offensive rebounding kept us alive.
Yeah.
It's a really tricky balance to pull between offensive rebounding, but also being good in your transition defense. And the Raptors mastered it tonight.
Yeah.
I think it's funny. By the way, the Celtics had 41 rebounds tonight, so 42. So they destroyed them on the glass. And it's pretty funny to me how concerned everyone was heading into the season, including a lot of like analysts, like national media, saying the Raptors didn't improve their center rotation. They're going to continue to get killed on the glass. And to start off the year, like that's not a problem at all. Like offensively, they're rebounding really well. Defensively, they're rebounding really well as well. Give Kem Birch credit. He's much improved from like the Aaron Baines days. Precious is a good rebounder. And then Scottie is a really good rebounder for his position as well.
I will say though, not to kill all of our excitement here, but Boston is the kind of team that we match up really well against. Like so do we with Washington, but a guy like Harrell just destroyed us down low, right? Guy that's like big, hard to contain, high energy. And if we run into other teams that have that kind of player, Time Lord's not really that kind of an aggressive guy. He's just an alley-ooper and like, a shot blocker. So I think I think rebounding could become an issue when we play teams with bigger centers.
Yeah, what Harrell did to us was embarrassing. 100%. It was tough.
Yeah, it was worse than that.
It was, man.
It was very tough to watch, but I think that was a case of Precious had the yips the whole game. He was just not in it. And Kem was just not ready. I think he just looked bad, but I'm pretty confident in those guys to handle those type of centers. Like with all the length around them, I'm not confident that they can handle Embiid and Jokic at all, but I think they'll be better. They'll be better against the Harrell types going forward. We have a clip here to show you on the defensive end, and I think it's just another one of the Raptors kind of length showing, but let's see what happens here.
Al Horford's old as shit. Sorry, I just wanted to say that really quickly.
Oh my God. Rotations are just incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, there's nothing Boston can do. I don't know what you guys are seeing, but it's really hard to score on this team.
Fred is such a good point of attack defender, man. Like you could rarely get past the guy, and then like when they switch, and then imagine like you're like Fred's guarding you, and then you finally get the switch that you wanted. It's OG, or it's like Scottie Barnes that switches onto you, or even Chris Boucher. Like you don't want like all that length.
That's the impressive part.
For Schroeder. Yeah.
That's the impressive part of this team is that they're switching a ton, and the bigs are doing a really good job staying disciplined.
Yeah.
Like Chris Boucher, that's why I wanted to shout him out. He stayed in front of guards incredibly well today. Precious can do it. Kem did it really well today. And when all of your players can stay in front of the opposite players, regardless of size, you're just going to be really hard to beat.
And we know OG is a defensive menace. But like props to him for shooting 4 for fucking 18 and still locking in on defense. That's something you can't take for granted because in the NBA, like if guys aren't hitting their shots, like they sulk or they disappear for points at a time. And OG was locked in the whole time. So
yeah, this is kind of an aside that I think about sometimes, but the way the Raptors develop really slowly over the course of years. Each year OG can get a little bit more. I think that helps with the like ego stuff where you're not Michael Porter Jr. coming into the league and here's 20 shots a night and like whatever on the defensive end. Well, in the Raptors system, you earn your minutes defensively and then like, okay, we'll move it up from there. So yeah, that's just a little thing.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I can watch this clip all day. Dennis Schroeder. Oh,
yeah, that's
man.
a good clip. That's a good.
The Celtics point guard situation, these last couple years, guys, like going from a washed up Kemba to Schroeder. I feel bad.
I mean, it helps. Guys, I like that addition. I'm still quite optimistic for the Celtics.
Yeah.
But
it was.
Maybe that's is that we're transitioning to so sure. Let's talk about Boston moment.
No. See, I was getting flamed. You guys are flaming me in the background.
No, it was just too early. Too early. But
no, I get it. To be honest, I'm supposed to hate Boston as like a guy who's grown up in Toronto and watched the Raptors his whole life. But Jason Tatum is my guy. He does. Speaking of sulking though, he does sulk a lot. Like that's a guy that when he doesn't get his calls, like. Yeah. He stared, I think it was like 2 minutes left. He stared right before he got subbed out. He stared down the referee, and then the Raptors destroyed the Celtics in transition. And then Udoka calls a timeout, and he looks at Tatum and he goes, yo, like, I know you missed a shot, and I know you thought you got fouled, but like, you got to run back. Like, there's no, just as you don't get a call, it's not like it can be 5-on-3 or 5-on-4 every single time. So, yeah. But I'm a Jason Tatum guy. I thought
Tatum shot in the second half?
What?
Let me hear it.
1 for 4. And if you put Brown in with them, they went 3 for 13. So, like they just totally disappeared. I don't know if they're gassed from the Knicks. Maybe like they're not in tip-top shape and that double OT kind of crushed them.
Yeah. Let's talk about Gary Trent Jr. That fit. That's not photoshopped, is it? Can we get a quick yes or no, Zarar?
It is not photoshopped to the best of my knowledge.
No, it's definitely not.
He skyrocketed in my rankings. He was already number 1. So, wow. Congratulations, Gary Trent Jr. Dressed like he's at a funeral. And maybe he was tonight.
Or in the Matrix.
Or in the Matrix, exactly. Ryan says the whole league is watching this tape on Jason Tatum tonight. Another banger by Nicholas. He put his whole government name out there. I don't know if Nick would appreciate that. Nicholas David Nurse.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know if you can have Aiden, can you have a game plan against Jason Tatum? Like, he's gonna have his off games, but he's one of those guys for me that like defense doesn't really matter. Like if there's a tough shot maker in the league, it's probably Jason Tatum.
Yeah, it might be one of those Kobe strategies where you just let him get his and hope it's at like a higher volume and less efficient rate than other nights, and then you just lock down everybody else. Can we get Zarar being the voice for Gary Trent Jr. like as like a podcast guest?
Yeah, sorry, I took him out of the stream.
I'm trying to buy a house in Toronto, and I have no idea how the bidding process works in the U.S. I just go to the grocery store and buy a house, but here I gotta get an agent and bid, and there's 2 numbers, and I don't know which one's bigger.
Gary, did you take the red pill or the blue pill?
I took the purple pill. It's for kids, it's like vitamins.
Oh, man. Nice. I love that. We're going to have to do that because I know Gary Trent Jr. is going to come with a crazy fit every single game. We might have to do that every time, Gerard. Just letting you know.
My private chat is just open. I thought this was interesting from Sam Bassini, who I referenced earlier, but his second tweet where it's true. This is Scottie Barnes' biggest offensive role in his career, or his last 3 years at least. I guess high school is a different thing, but he played at Montverde, and then he was the backup, the 6th man at FSU. So it's crazy that he's being put in like a huge role from like Nurse trusts this guy to an alarming degree for a rookie. And he's excelling. And like there's gonna be bad nights for sure. Like we have to understand that he's not going to shoot the ball especially this well most nights. And I also think that when they get Siakam back, this is actually a good transition to that. When they get Siakam back, it's going to be a little bit weird for Scottie to figure out his role. But that's the thing someone asked earlier, who maybe we can get it back up, but was what happens when Siakam comes back to the lineup? Like, what do you guys think the starting lineup's going to be then?
I literally spent the last 2 minutes, Oren, trying to find that comment so we could highlight it on the stream, and I could not find it. So I'm glad you mentioned it. I don't know. I feel like the Siakam factor is going to affect, I think, Anunoby the most in terms of a positive impact. I think Anunoby needs Siakam there. I don't think he takes away from OG. I think he adds to OG's confidence on the court. And I think they're two, I don't want to say super similar players, but they do a lot of the same things. It's just Pascal, I think, is a much better finisher than OG. But for me, I think, when Pascal gets back, this hurts. This really hurts to say. But I think you're going to have to move Scottie Barnes to like a six-man role.
No.
And I'm going to get flamed in the comments in 3, 2, 1. No.
I mean, I think that's fair considering at the start of preseason, we would have all probably said the same thing.
Totally. Yeah, because I don't think that means he's never going to play with the starters. I mean, he's still going to get a lot of run with Fred. He's going to get a lot of run with Siakam. Scottie's the type of guy that because one player's in, that doesn't mean he can't be in the game. So he can play with Pascal. He can play with OG and Fred and Goran and all those guys. So, but I think the lack of playmaking on the bench is what's going to force him there. Goran isn't really a PG, guys. He's more of a combo guard than anything.
Yeah.
And I think in that rotation, it makes a lot more sense to just plug Pascal in, take Scottie Barnes out. Scottie Barnes, I think you still have him maybe in the high 20 minutes per game because I do genuinely think, and this is crazy to say, but I do think that 19-year-old is one of the top players on the Raptors. I'm not just saying it 2 games in. I genuinely think that by the end of the year, we're going to look at this guy as one of the real cornerstones already this soon on the Toronto Raptors.
Has there ever been a Rookie of the Year and Sixth Man of the Year?
Oh, Aiden's going crazy right now.
No,
I don't know.
I would be very surprised if a Rookie of the Year ever won Sixth Man of the Year.
That'd be sick, though.
Yeah,
go ahead. No, you go.
I disagree, man. Like, I'm so smitten with Scottie. I think he has to stay in the starting lineup, and I think you at least have to just try big ball. Like, you just got to try OG at the 2.
So you're saying OG at the 2? Oh
yeah, I say. I mean, this is the identity that this team wants, anyways. This is what they've talked about for so long: being switchable, being long, not playing small as much as they did last year. So I think there's enough playmaking between Siakam, Scottie, and Fred that you can get away with it. So to me, Trent goes to the bench. Yeah, and I also think, as I said earlier, Birch I prefer with the starters over Achua, and it is a concern with the playmaking with the reserves. But you just kind of stagger minutes so that Fred and those guys can play with the reserves, because Scottie has just been too good to take off the floor right now, and not just too good, like, he fits the identity, I think, better than Trent does in terms of making them really big, making them really switchable, making them get a lot of turnovers and run in the fast break and all that stuff.
I think Scottie could probably just play all 48 minutes so that we don't have to really worry. But yeah, no, I agree. And I think it's really like the biggest advantage we now have is that we can stagger minutes, and we can always have like a more of a playmaker come on with the bench. And I think who's going to benefit the most is Van Vliet, because we've already talked about him, the challenges he has with high usage on the offensive end. Being the tertiary or quaternary option is right where he like that fits perfectly for him in the hierarchy.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of Fred, OG, Scottie, Pascal, Precious lineups. People are in love with Precious, Oren. I told you, man. You said Birch at the 5, and everyone's saying Precious. I told you, man. Told you this would happen.
I think the Precious stuff is like preseason. Everyone was so smitten with him in preseason, but I think over the course of 82 games, he doesn't make sense with the starters to me. He just does too much.
Fortunary.
He takes too many shots away from OG, Siakam, Fred, and Scottie. Like it's one thing in preseason when he's doing it, but it's another when like Siakam is there and he's your number one option. And I prefer just a screen setting rim runner like Kem.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
That's fair. That's fair. I hope he answered your question. When Pascal does get back, I think we're all on a similar page. I mean, Oren says put OG at the 2, go big. I mean, the total wingspan of that team is going to have to be 432,000 feet.
Wraps around the world.
Yeah, wrap around the entire world. So, Oren,
Yeah.
what was – because this is something I want to implement this year for wrap-up.
Yeah.
What was your favorite tweet? And I'm putting you on the spot. What was your favorite tweet of the
Well,
night? Because I know you had some tweets you wanted to show.
Yeah.
What was your favorite one of the night?
Luckily, I had one queued up right now. I'm not
nice.
I'm not going to choose my own. I'm not that clever or funny, but I thought this was funny.
Oh, you didn't choose one of mine? Oh, okay. No, it's okay.
Sorry, man.
That's cool, man.
The Raptors going to be crazy when OG and Siakam come back, but it's true. Like OG's gonna play a lot better, and this game actually, like on a serious note, it made me really excited for the Raptors at full strength. If they can get relative luck with the health this season and just have like a full rotation for a good amount of the season, I think, yeah, like, I mean, I've been high on this team from the get-go. I've said they're going to make a play-in game for sure. And I still feel confident with that, even more so after a game like tonight. Like game 1 did not get me down at all. I thought it was hilarious that everyone was freaking out on Twitter about it, because to me, it was such a clear case of nerves. That was not who they were at all. Like that was just a jittery team in Toronto for the first time.
Also, anybody on Twitter should follow No Name. She's pretty great.
Yeah, Iman is great. Her tweets, I mean, she's good for like a viral tweet every game, I want to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to Iman. There's a bunch of tweets that we're going to be showing this season from a bunch of great Raptors personalities on Raptors Twitter. And I'm biased, guys, but I think Raptors Twitter is the best faction of NBA Twitter. I think we have the funniest people. I think we have the most engaging people. The beat writers and Blake and Eric Kareen, they engage. Yeah, and now I guess I could say Oren too, because Oren's at Raptors games too, right? Oren's got a blue check mark. Oren's big time now.
Yahoo Canada too.
Yeah.
This was another. I mean, this is our tweet, but this pass from Fred was, you don't see him. Like, he has a lot of trouble hitting rollers in the pick and roll, a lot of trouble, and he misses Precious a lot. But this, I thought he was screwed, and then he somehow still gets it around.
Insane.
I know. He actually can't see him.
Wow.
I mean, he has to use every advantage he possibly can because the odds are against him.
Yeah, when you're that small, right?
So it's good that he's
let's be honest. Like he's built like a garden gnome, so he's not a big guy.
5'10".
Yeah, he's small, but that was a gorgeous pass. That's something like you see from Kyle Lowry more than anything, and that's one of the gripes I think I've had with Fred. And I never felt like he would reach that playmaking level of Kyle, and I still think Kyle's a much better playmaker than him. But I do think Fred has improved so much in the last couple of years in that aspect. So speaking of Kyle, guys, because I know by the end of this, we're reaching that ending point, that 1 hour point. So around the NBA talk, what did you guys think about seeing Kyle Lowry in a Miami Heat jersey?
Dude,
yeah.
that I didn't see the game, but I saw the highlight of him taking a charge when they're up 30.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's
Kyle. That's literally Kyle Lowry.
And then cry and all of the emotions attached to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. I think the fit with the Heat is really good because he's going to go back to the role he was with the Kawhi season where he's just more of a facilitator. And Bam and Jimmy are incredibly good finishers. So I like Kyle as just like the playmaking maestro that he is. And they're going to be good this year. I mean, if they get in good injury luck because they're not deep at all, but if they stay healthy, I think they'll be great.
Yeah, and the last thing I wanted to ask you guys before we left is, you guys see what jersey that? Oh no, wrong side. You guys see what jersey that is over there?
Yeah,
Allen
Howard,
Iverson.
D12.
Alex White.
How is he not in the top 75 NBA list? I need to hear your guys' comments on that.
Because people don't like him. He's like Kyrie.
Mm,
It's like a
That hurt.
political thing.
He also it also was just a blemish on his career to bounce around like 6 teams in 4 years or whatever. It just kind of erased who he was as a player in Orlando.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think that's enough, guys. I think we
Yeah.
gave the crowd a show. We had a lot more viewers, which usually comes with the wins, which is nice. So
Yeah,
Raptors
baby.
keep winning. If you haven't already and you haven't left us yet, please please leave us a comment. You guys know we show your comments all the time, and subscribe to the Raptors Republic channel. There's a bunch of cool stuff going on. I tell you guys this every single show. Raptors Republic channel is where the Raptors content is at. The premium content, at least. Sorry, no disrespect. I say that respectfully to all the other Raptors content out there. That's going to do it for us. At the wrap up, your Raptors Republic post game live show where your Toronto Raptors defeated the Boston Celtics 115-83, bringing the Raptors record to 1-1 on the season. That was it for myself, Oren, and Aiden. We'll see you guys soon. The Raptors are 1-1. Scottie Barnes looks like the rookie of the year.
Let's go.
Love it. Take care, boys and girls.